All right, welcome to Security Guy Radio at beautiful, as is 2016, in very hot, miserable Orlando. But we're surviving. We're survivors.
A little warmer than home.
Welcome to the show. What's your name, sir?
Scott Lowther. I'm with Brian Energy.
Brian Energy. You sent me an email. You said you wanted to be in the show. I read about Brian Energy, and I said, what? What is all... Tell me about this. This is a big operation. It's unbelievable.
Brian Energy is the Canadian arm of CNPC, or
Okay.
PetroChina, obviously the Chinese National Petroleum Corporation. They're currently building a SAGD operation in northern Canada in Fort McMurray. It'll produce about 31,000 barrels of oil a day. So I'm there as their manager of corporate security and emergency response.
And how many employees they have worldwide?
Brian Energy has just under 300 employees, but CNPC, the more global organization, has 2 million employees with about $4 trillion in annual revenue.
2 million employees.
That's right.
That has to be the biggest employer in the world, or one of them? I mean,
It's in the top 5 for employers
Top 5.
in the world. Yeah.
Wow. Tell me some of your challenges in the energy business. I did a show last year about guards and pay rates, right? And guards in the energy sector are paid twice as much on average as guards in every other part of the country. And good reason, right? Are you getting your money value out of that, or paying more for that? They take it seems like the energy industry takes it much more seriously than the average type of industry.
I think we have to, especially where we are in the oil sands. It's a political hot potato.
Right.
It's a frequent target for not just political, but also the environmental type organizations that want to protest. We have very good security forces up north, but what makes it interesting where we are is that we don't have fences. We can't put fences around our properties in northern Canada because it disrupts the caribou runs and the bear population.
Now,
so we have these massive
oh
facilities.
Boy, that is a challenge.
It absolutely is, and we have worker camps. And the trades come up there, they spend 2 weeks on at a time, and then they go home for 2 weeks. And with that population, just like every other man camp, we have the narcotics, we have alcohol, extortion, everything you can imagine in a small town we have in our little area up
It's the
north.
Yukon Gold Rush again. It's the same with Shantytown and all that stuff. It's amazing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Wow. So how do you handle the security on a non-perimetered place? Are you using things like radar perimeters or beam perimeters, or just not worrying about that aspect of it?
Well, when we found out that we couldn't secure our perimeter, it's just too diverse. It's hundreds of square kilometers with no fence lines. So we really adopted the mentality of intelligence-based security.
Okay.
We embedded our security forces in the man camps so they became members of the community and trusted confidants. We've built massive networks of confidential informants that are at work to ensure that they have a safe workplace. They don't want drugs and alcohol and those things in the workplace. So we have a very diverse web of confidential informants that have helped us remove those people and those things that put us at risk.
So these camps go for like how long a period of time? A couple months? 3 months?
No, our camp's been up there about 4.5 years.
Oh, I misunderstood. I thought they come and go at different times. So
Yeah, the workforce revolves every 2 weeks.
Oh, the force that
Yes.
people. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So you're basically you're securing a city in
Correct.
a way, a small city.
Right.
And give me some of the challenges involved in that are different from securing a building, right? I mean, we talk about smart cities and how to do that, but that's not what we got here. I mean, do you have like a security patrol force that goes around in cars and things like that, or?
We do. We have a security complement up there that focuses both on traffic patrol. It's set up much like a police force.
Right.
Perimeter patrols. We have guards that'll walk the hallways trying to detect contraband, those types of things. We have an administrative team. So it's built much like a small police force.
That's very interesting. That seems like a unique model to me. Probably not a lot of corporate security departments have that type of model.
No, and in fact, I'm going to be speaking on that in November at the ASIS China conference about the model of intelligence-based security and enforcing security in an environment where you can't have guards and guns and fences.
Right. Now, how do you handle the privacy aspects, especially in Canada? There's different privacy laws in the United States, right? And I think in some ways there's more privacy laws up there than there are in the United States, and vice versa. So, for example, in California, if I was going to do an investigation on you, I'd have to tell you I'm going to do one. Right. It's crazy, right? The privacy thing. So in Canada, are you dealing with, if it's intelligence based and they're living in your town, so to speak, and they're your employee, is there some kind of weird challenge you have to have as far as how do I describe it? How you approach an employee, how you investigate an employee, how you, from a security perspective, right?
Absolutely. We have to be cognizant of the Canadian Charter of Rights. And within the Charter of Rights, it protects individuals from unlawful search and those types of things. What we do is everybody that comes onto our property has to physically waive their expectation of privacy.
Oh, that's interesting. What's the reason for that?
We conduct regular canine narcotics searches where we'll go into a camp, we'll pop open all the doors and search for the narcotics. Well, you typically can't do that.
Yeah, that's
probably
true.
not in the States either, but people have an expectation of privacy in their homes and their cars and whatnot, but we waive that, they waive that. They also do it through their initial orientation process and whatnot. So they've waived their expectation of privacy. We don't have the ability to then take that information to the police. So if we find a quantity of drugs in a camp room, it's a no search or a no warrant search. So we'll seize it, we'll kick them off our property.
It's consensual in a way because they waived their right on it, right?
So that's where we lose is from the law enforcement side is we can't prosecute.
Now, is that because it's company policy or it's too far away from a police department or what?
Well, it's Canadian law. I mean, if we're searching somebody's room and we're not doing it with a warrant.
Oh, that's
where we lose. We can do these warrantless searches for the purpose of increasing health and safety on a work site.
Yeah.
But we lose our ability to prosecute because
that's
of
interesting. See, in the
warrantless searches.
States, a private citizen is not affected by search and seizure laws. If I come in your house and search something and seize it, you might arrest me for trespassing, but you're still going to jail for the narcotics that got found, right?
Right.
Because that violation has to be a public entity that violates your right. So you're saying that you could violate somebody's rights as a private entity, which is a very big challenge. That's much different than we have here.
Absolutely. And you're dealing with people's employment. These are big figure dollar amounts for jobs, so you have to be very careful and cognizant of people's rights, and you're doing it right, and we've vetted it through our legal process.
Now, is there any case where you would be doing your job and finding these things where you would prosecute? I guess if everybody waives it initially, there wouldn't be any way you would do it. Do you think that, let me ask you this, do you think that encourages more bad behavior? Because in other words, if you know you're not going to jail ultimately, you're just going to get fired, I'll take my chance.
I think, and it may be a bit controversial to say, but I think the conviction rates in Canada for small quantity contraband is pretty low.
Okay.
Up in Canada, people are more concerned with losing their job.
Sure.
And these guys working up there minimum make $100,000 a year. That's how they buy their homes and their big fancy toys.
That's good money in Canada.
They can't lose their job.
Yeah.
And they realize if they get caught with this stuff in their possession, they're losing their job, and they'll probably get blackballed in industry. So that deterrent I found personally over the past 5 years is far greater than any prosecution they would face in court.
That's very interesting. I think that's kind of an opposite effect down here. Although some of the things I've seen, what we would do as a corporate policy is to shift liability from us. We'd send it to the police department. We'd say, we found this employee doing these things. What do you guys want to do about it? And if the police decide to do something about it, that's on the police, not on the corporation, right?
Which we've done. If we find if we receive information from our CIs that we have a distribution ring, we will turn that over to the police, so we don't jeopardize an investigation, the integrity of the investigation.
Now, do you work overseas with any part of the corporation over there?
We're starting. 2 million employees. There's only a handful of us that have anything to do with security, and definitely I'm the only guy in the Western Hemisphere that overlooks security for organization.
The whole Western Hemisphere?
Wow. We have affiliates in the United States. We have affiliates in South America, in Brazil, and Venezuela. So I've spent a number of months in Houston and Washington, D.C. this past year, building those relationships between the Chinese energy companies and law enforcement and intelligence.
Well, so like the Peking division doesn't have a security director over there?
It's within their health and safety department.
Interesting.
And they're very focused on health and safety.
Yeah.
But somebody with a skill set of pure security in the Western Hemisphere, it just doesn't exist.
Any idea why that is? Is it just the culture in the government that maybe, nobody messes around over there and don't have to worry about it? I don't know.
Sure, that's part of it, but they're also fairly new into North America. And when they came over to North America, yes, they're focused on health and safety, which is important.
Right.
But I think the security aspect of it just didn't receive the attention initially that it deserved. And with the incidents that we're seeing in the United States and Canada with active shooters and terrorism and those types of things, it's really become important for the Chinese government to be involved and engaged and be recipients of intelligence that could save or help our people or assets.
Are they a willing partner to that? Are they coming on board? Are they interested in it?
Absolutely. They're extremely supportive of my efforts globally to help the
Good.
organization.
I'll tell you, when I used to do intelligence stuff, one of the best sources I had for data was the Chinese People's Republican newspaper. Something online. They had the London train bombing hours before anybody else did. They got the scoop, so I have some good gathering stuff, that's for sure. Scott, thanks for coming on Security Get Rid Of. Give us your website and how we get hold of you again.
You bet. Thanks, Chuck.
Website is what?
www.bryanenergy.com.
Excellent. Thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thanks.